from the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast.
Coming up on Ag Day, USDA rolls out its guidelines for the 2018 Farm Bill. Meet the third finalist for Top Producer of the Year, a family farm from Illinois. In agribusiness, watching the weather in South America.
The weather you've seen down there, it's just been spoon-fed rainfall. So
Wildfire dangers rising in the Southern Plains and becoming a master cheesemaker in Wisconsin.
Ag Day, brought to you by the Chevy Silverado, the most dependable, longest-lasting full-size pickups on the road.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. USDA rolling out the Trump administration's vision for the 2018 Farm Bill. The Ag Department calling the 4-page document a statement of principles. Ag Secretary Sonny Perdue rolling out the Farm Bill plan during a town hall meeting in Mifflintown, Pennsylvania. While the Farm Bill is generated by the House of Representatives, Ag Secretary Sonny Perdue hopes lawmakers will use this document as a guide to crafting legislation. The Ag Department wants a Farm Bill to provide a safety net, but it also discourages subsidies that make farmers dependent on the government. It calls for further cutting of some regulations that farm groups call burdensome, and the guidelines also encourage young people to get into farming by increasing access to land and capital. The outline also putting emphasis on getting SNAP recipients, otherwise known as food stamps, back to work, which is a priority for the GOP. The 4-page document calls for supporting work as the pathway to self-sufficiency for people on food stamps. Betsy Gibbon is at Top Producer Seminar in Chicago, where she talked with Farm Journal Washington consultant Jim Wiesmeyer about this aspect of the USDA guidelines. Betsy.
Clinton, one of the suggestions in the 4-page document calls for a change with the Supplemental Nutrition Program, also known as food stamps. The USDA document calling for a closer connection between work and the benefit.
Well, the key on the food stamps is in the House. They have to walk a fine line. House Ag Committee Chairman Mike Conaway has to have enough reform of the food stamp program to convince the conservative in his party not to take apart the food stamp program. If he goes too far, the Democrats, including ranking member Colin Peterson, Democrat from Minnesota, will not give the support to the Farm Bill. So once again, it's a fine line on food stamps.
In 2015, the Ag Department said roughly 57% of adults in the program had a job or were looking for one. Roughly 22% did not work because of a disability. Reporting in Chicago, Illinois at the Top Producer Seminar, I'm Betsy Gibbon.
All right, thanks, Betsy. About 80% of the Farm Bill funding goes toward mandatory nutrition programs like SNAP, so you can expect to hear plenty of debate over USDA's recommendation. Now, the current farm law expires September 30th of this year. Meanwhile, Treasury Secretary Mnuchin says the weak dollar is obviously good for U.S. trade, spurring the dollar indices to fresh 3-year lows. Mnuchin saying that at a news briefing in Davos, Switzerland. Now, over the longer term, he says the strength of the dollar is a reflection of the strength of the U.S. economy.
Not bad.
It might be winter, but sometimes the horizon is worth the view in farm country. Mike Hoffman has an example of today's crop comments. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Clinton. And Jesse Alt over in Iowa says her area of central Iowa is experiencing temperatures in the upper 20s with clouds and wind. But it's sure hard to beat a picture like this. Now, taking a look at the wind speed forecast, you can see we're going to start off a little bit windy this morning out west and in the far northeast. Parts of Florida are going to pick up with wind this afternoon. Same thing in parts of Oklahoma, Kansas, back through the western states. And then as we head into tomorrow, the whole storm system moves into the central plains, and that's where most of the wind is going to be occurring. And it'll pick up and be pretty strong even into the Great Lakes as we head through the end of the day. We'll have the rest of your forecast coming up, but first here are some hometown temps.
Ag Day, brought to you by the Enlist Weed Control System. More weed control, less drift and volatility, maximum yield potential.
As Top Producer Seminar rolls on, we're introducing you to the 3 finalists for Top Producer of the Year. Well, today, our third and final profile takes us to Iola, Illinois, and Bailey Family Farms. As Bailey Family Farms wraps up its last field of soybeans, it's a perfect time to reflect on the year.
This is actually the second year that we've been 100% soybeans. People just kind of look at you and say, well, you can't do that. You've got to grow corn. You're not growing any corn.
A mentality, a different way of thinking that's helping Zach, Darren, and Cole Bailey continue to build their farming business near Iola, Illinois.
My father and my brother-in-law and myself grew the farm to about 30,000 acres during the mid-90s. 2006, things were just very hectic. They were very confusing. We were having trouble getting along, so I literally stepped out.
But he kept farming. At the time, Darren had 4,000 acres and equipment of his own. His kids went to college, and he spent the next 6 years as an independent business.
If you would have asked me 5 years ago, I guess 5.5 years ago, if I'd be farming today, the answer would have been absolutely no.
He wanted us to do get an education, get work experience, something outside of agriculture.
I was going to be a pilot. That's what I wanted to do. We were bound for Papua New Guinea.
2012, we got the call. Their wives were pregnant with our first grandchildren, and they wanted to come home and raise their children like they were raised. So I knew that when they came back, we had to have open dialogue continually and good communication. So we routinely have family meetings with the wives present.
The three of us sat down and we rebranded. We settled on Bailey Family Farm, faith, family, farming. And in those three words, I feel like we really encompassed what our intent is as Bailey Family Farm. The farming's last.
And those priorities are working as the farm continues to grow.
When they came back, we've just exponentially grown, mainly due to the fact that people like what we're doing, and the Lord's blessing to almost 12,000 now.
Typically, wheat and corn find their way into these fields, but soybeans have been the crop of choice lately, including stepping into a niche market growing non-GMO varieties.
We've got an excellent relationship with several different grain buyers, and being able to transition into that was easy.
They also bought a nearby elevator, which helps them manage storage and keep beans separate.
Cole kind of took it over.
But that took a lot of adjustment, going from a small scale bin storage and handling to this really large scale, and understanding what all that takes and what required.
Having over 1 million bushel worth of storage, aside from farm bins now, has been able to position us to capitalize on blips in the market.
This father and son's trio say their success lies in helping others succeed.
We have a culture, in the way that we live our personal lives, and I think that definitely bleeds into the production side of things, and we hope that it trickles down.
A dream that starts where it ends, one season at a time. Congratulations to Bailey Family Farms, a finalist for Top Producer of the Year. Now on Wednesday evening, Top Producer Magazine presented the award to the 2018 winner, and the honor goes to Frank Howie Family Farms in Monroe, North Carolina. Congratulations to Frank and his wife Allison, the 2018 Top Producer of the Year. Now, if you missed his story, you can see it again on agweb.com. All right, when we come back, we'll check in on South American weather and the impact it may or may not have on U.S. prices. And we travel the long road it takes to receive the title Master Cheesemaker when we head in the country.
Deciding whether to sell your old equipment? Well, Machinery Pete's Pick of the Week lets you stay informed on current market prices, allowing you to set the best possible price for your equipment. Text Pete 6 to 31313 to get started.
In agribusiness, there was a lot of positive movement during the trading day for commodities. Let's see how markets closed from the floor of the CME in Chicago.
Hi, it's been a stronger grain market here in Chicago today, and really been probably the strongest market we've seen in quite some time. Really not any market has traded lower, except for the possible exception of rice there for a little while. But everything else trading higher, and really looking pretty good on the charts as we go into the close. The primary catalyst for the price strength here today has been the weaker U.S. dollar. Really wasn't any other news to drive the market higher, but the dollar was sharply weaker and made some new lows for the move. But the good news for producers is it does seem to be turning the markets a little bit higher, at least a little bit higher for now. March beans do appear ready to go over $10 here sometime in the near future. And corn and wheat also look like perhaps they put some bottoms into the market here for at least the short term, and we'll see exactly how high they can go. It's the hog market really leading the way higher here today, and has been supported by strong cash prices, not only for pork but also for hogs. Hog market appears to be fairly current, judging from the weights, and that's really helped support the market in through here as well. Cattle market is seeing some good support nearby. We'll see if that support can continue into the end of the week. Thanks very much. This is Jack Scoville. I'm Vice President of Price Futures Group here on the CME Group floor with some comments for the markets.
Garrett Toy, Ag Trader Talk, our guest here at the Agribusiness Desk today. Garrett, as we always in January, it seems like we spend most of our time looking at the weather, not at home, but in South America,
Absolutely.
Trying to figure out what's going on down there in the middle of their growing season. What can you tell us so far?
Well, I mean, obviously the Brazilian crop has seen adequate rainfall. The Argentine, crop is the one that's up in question. The USDA in the January report, they upped the Brazil crop and more than offset the Argentine numbers. You've got the private consultancies that are saying that the Brazilian crop is just as big as it was last year.
Okay.
But the Argentine crop, we don't know. And from this point forward, we get into the key time periods. The USDA report and this NOPA crush report kind of put the kibosh on the oil share trade that we had. Meal has been supportive, and that's been generally, if you want a bean rally, that's where it's going to come from, is meal.
Right.
It's just the question is how much can it go, and we've the firming South American Argentine meal basis has allowed us to get capture a little bit more meal basis, and it's been helpful. But I think that the farmer still sits here with a lot of beans to sell. They've got use this as an opportunity to market some new crop beans. The carries in the market allow you to sell some May, July time slots for over $10, and those are profitable levels.
But nothing stands out to you as maybe here's a big bump we're going to see. I mean, we're not through their weather season, but last year I think we saw a little bit of a bump on a weather scare. Nothing. It doesn't seem like there's anything dramatic brewing.
Yeah, well, expect the unexpected always.
Well, that's true.
And it's still early that we could still see some weather issues develop.
Okay.
But at this point, the weather you've seen down there, it's just been spoon-fed rainfall. So I mean, it hasn't been just blasting hot, dry weather that's going to spur a Katie bar the door rally.
Right,
where they're going to have a bean crop. It's just going to be a couple million metric ton either way.
Plus or minus.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
Okay. All right. Good. Appreciate it. Thank you, Garrett. We'll be back with more Ag Day in just a minute.
To contact Garrett, call him at 888-745-2020 or find him at agtradertalk.com.
Ag Day, brought to you by Alivo Seed Treatment from Bayer. Protect your soybeans from SDS and nematodes this season.
Welcome back to Ag Day. Our meteorologist Mike Hoffman. Mike, as we look at this system brewing out west, is it going to do what the last one did?
Well, originally the models made it look like a pretty impressive system coming east, but latest run's really not showing that. But that is the main system on the weather map this morning, because you can see high pressure from the southern Mississippi Valley into the Great Lakes really dominating most of the country. But rain and mountain snows out west will continue to come eastward. That whole storm system, the area of low pressure, is going to move along the Canadian border through southern Canada. And that's going to keep a lot of the moisture up that way, and once it comes eastward, it really just doesn't get a lot of the Gulf moisture involved with this system. So you can see by later today, just some mountain snows and still some rains along the coast, west coast, central California on northward. Heading through the nighttime hours tonight, might see a few showers popping up in southern Texas. Otherwise, the eastern parts of the country still dry, and you can see the lingering snow and valley rains out west. Heading eastward as this cold front comes this way over the afternoon hours tomorrow, you can see some clouds starting to develop out ahead of the cold front. And this is just going to be a few spotty showers as it comes farther east heading into the first part of the weekend. But we do have another storm system coming in out west, and that one looks pretty impressive as well. Take a look at the precipitation estimate past 24 hours. Very little, a couple of spots there east of the Rockies. Otherwise, it's all been out west. Adding in the next 36 hours, that's pretty much where it's going to be over the next 36 as well. Most of it is going to occur in Northern California, up the coast of Washington and Oregon. As far as snowfall is concerned, we've seen a little bit over the past 24 hours in West Virginia and some of the parts of the Northeast Northern Lakes, but very little. Adding in the next 36 hours, most of it is going to fall out west, as you can see. Even into the central Rockies going to get a little bit of accumulating snow there into Colorado. Temperatures this afternoon, highs in the teens and 20s in the far northeast. That's the cold part of the country. Otherwise, you can see lots of 50s and 60s through the southern plains, southeastern portions of the country. Lows tonight going to be very cold in New England with some single digits showing up, but the rest of the country really not too bad for this time of the year. Lots of 30s and 40s in the plains, and tomorrow afternoon we warm things up even more on into the central Mississippi Valley with temperatures returning to the 50s. There's the jet stream and the ridge that's coming eastward, at least temporarily. Quick shot of colder air again later in the weekend into the first part of next week for the Northeast, but like I said yesterday, this is probably the beginning of the next big batch of cold air. That trough starting to dig in next week, late in the week. That's a look across the country. Now let's take a look at some local forecasts. First of all, Tacoma, Washington today, cloudy, periods of rain, high temperature of 43. Wichita Falls, Texas, lots of sunshine and nice, high of 66. And finally, Louisville, Kentucky, a good deal of sunshine and a little bit milder, high of 51.
All right, when we come back, it's our Drovers TV report and a look at the latest feeder margins. And to become a master in anything, it takes a lot of time and commitment. That's certainly the case for cheesemaking in Wisconsin.
Your next piece of equipment is on MachineryPete.com. Search equipment from dealerships across the country to find what you're looking for. Only on MachineryPete.com.
In news from our partners at Drovers, the latest Sterling profit tracker showing feeders making $210 per head this past week. The double-digit bump, a result of a $3 per hundred rally in fed cattle prices. The Packers also still in the black with margins just shy of the $90 per head mark. The 5-area district cash price was $122 last week. Now the cost of finishing a steer dropping below that $1,500 on falling feed prices, and cash profit margins for cow-calf producers in 2018 set to average $103 per cow, which is about $50 less than last year's average. Wildfire season on the High Plains has begun. Firefighters in Texas were battling several blazes this week. The fire danger is high due to the higher than normal rainfall in the region last year, which produced an abundance of grass. However, since early last fall, that area has seen drought conditions. The National Weather Service says the Texas Panhandle hasn't received measurable rainfall in more than 100 days. More than 40% of Texas is now in a moderate to severe drought, and that's just 5 months after Hurricane Harvey produced the wettest August in the state's 124 years.
The National Drought Monitor map shows varying degrees of drought throughout the Midwest and Great Plains, and that's a worry for the beef industry, as at least 60% of the nation's cow herd resides in the central region of the country.
Nationwide, nearly 61% of the country is abnormally to extremely dry, which is 18 percentage points higher than the end of November. And if you want to be the best, it takes hard work and a lot of time. That includes the people who create some of the best dairy products around. The mastery of cheese, next on AgDay.
AgDay, brought to you by new Delaro fungicide for corn and soybeans. Achieve personal best yields. In the country, sponsored by Kubota. Tractors, hay tools, utility vehicles, mowers, and more. Visit Kubota.com today.
Did you know it takes 13 years of hard work to get certified as a master cheesemaker in Wisconsin? Now that's dedication. With some of Wisconsin's master cheesemakers nearing retirement, they are turning their attention to grooming the next generation. One of those dedicated souls is Erin Redke. She works at Sartori Cheese under the watchful eye of master cheesemaker Mike Matuszewski. Although Redke admits cheesemaking wasn't her first ambition, after a few days at the vat, she knew making cheese was her passion.
I feel like that's where I need to be. I feel like it's the only thing that I want to do right now is just keep learning and strive to be that master cheesemaker someday. The whole process is just it's just really interesting. It's amazing to see your end product, especially when it's a year out. It started as milk, and here's this award-winning great cheese.
During the 13-year process to become a master cheesemaker, 10 of those years is honing the craft, another 3 to exhibit mastery through advanced courses and exams. The Wisconsin Milk Marketing Board says this is the only program of its kind outside of Europe. And that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in, spent part of your day with us. For Mike Hoffman and all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.
AgDay, brought to you by Ram Commercial, America's longest-lasting heavy-duty pickups.